I'm Nathan and welcome to Stories with a Twang. Today's episode is called, I'm house sitting for my mother's friend, and it has gone horribly wrong. She's seen me. I shouldn't have let her see me. By Bitter Rub 9701. I've always been a paranoid person. Seeing things out of the corner of my eye, hearing noises where none existed, jumping at images conjured from my imagination. I spent many nights in my parents' bed as a child, driven off from my own by jeering faces in the blackness. Premonitions of death chase me, though none before have ever come true. Merely a byproduct of a naturally anxious mind, I suppose. It's the worst at night, even worse when I'm alone. I'm a college student living with my family, but they all take frequent weekend trips, leaving me by myself to watch the house and dogs. So many times I've looked up from my living room couch to the upstairs landing and seen a figure staring down, only to disappear once I blink. I keep my bedroom door locked at night and peek under the bed and behind my dresser before retiring to ensure my solitude. But I still wake to the sounds of footsteps and heavy breathing surrounding me in the blackness. That's all irrelevant, though. My home isn't haunted. The dogs would know if anything was amiss. It's simply my mind playing tricks in the darkness and isolation. I assume the same thing was happening when my mother's friend asked me to house sit for her for a few days. A frequent pet sitter in my youth, I already knew that my paranoia only worsened in new environments, so uneasiness was assured when I agreed to the task. The first day was uneventful. I watched some pirated television on my laptop and caught up with assignments I had been procrastinating. Plants on the back porch needed watering and the pet rat upstairs needed her water filled. The stairs were steep and creaky leading up to a hallway lined with doors. Two opened up to the children's bedrooms where the rat's cage was. The one on the end was the guest room where I would be staying. I noted with some trepidation that the door had no lock. None of the bedroom doors had locks. There was an overbearing musty scent. I should say that something about upper floors has frightened me since childhood. I blame it on my grandparents' old house, a long, dark corridor lined with bookshelves upon which old dolls sat, their unblinking, beady eyes endlessly staring. A children's playroom with ratty stuffed toys and a rocking horse that never quite seemed to still. A bedroom with a locked crawl space, the handle always threatening to twist. Upon the bed sat a quilt my dead great-grandmother had made, and I feared that her spirit had never left it. Irrelevant, again. There was nothing wrong with the upstairs of this house. There was nothing wrong with the house at all. It was spacious, open, with plenty of hiding spaces for any intruders, but there was nothing sinister about it. Just my overactive brain seeing danger where there was none. I did feel bad for the rat, stuck in a cage, no toys to chew on, just shredded newspaper coated with the stench of her own leavings. I've heard before that they need a friend to keep sane, but she was all alone. She was terrified of me, retreating to a single cramped wooden hide when I reached inside to top off her water and refill her food. I wondered what that would be like, living at the mercy of an omnipotent hand, your existence trapped within the confines of white wire. When I returned downstairs, I saw that the door to the parents' bedroom was open. It had always been open, I just hadn't noticed earlier. Hanging over the bed was the portrait of a woman. Her brown hair was done in braids, her sallow skin was a bit wrinkled, her nose sharp. Her lips were pursed and her cold gray eyes were fixed upon some unseen thing to the lower right, her pale brows furrowed in clear displeasure. She wore a gray turtleneck and she sat against a black background, a void. She frightened me. I felt that at any moment her head could turn and those disapproving eyes would cast their disdain on me instead. I felt that she would want to do me harm. I told myself that I was just being foolish and returned to my laptop. I tried not to think about the woman. When evening began to fall, I gathered up my things and went to the guest room upstairs. It was uncomfortably warm, but the fan would not turn on. The sheets on the bed were yellowing and the pillow was flat. The dank, musky scent still pervaded. The light switch didn't work. I didn't like that. Light switches never worked in my nightmares. There was a lamp, fortunately, on the bedside table, though it failed to illuminate most of the room. The closet door didn't close fully no matter how hard I slammed it. Once again, I noted that none of the doors had locks. The front, back, and side doors to the house were all shut and securely fastened, so I told myself I was safe. I didn't quite believe it. I played some instrumental music for myself and tried to relax, but I still slept fitfully. When dreams did come, they were unpleasant. I was here, at the house, at night, watching the news. A serial killer was on the loose. I heard a noise from the parents' bedroom. I tried to turn on the lights, but the switch didn't work. I don't know how the dream ended. I never do. I woke early before the sun rose. I went outside to sweep the deck and clear the pool sweepers. I found a frog in one of them and I put it beneath one of the bushes. He didn't hop away and I worried that he was dead, but he was likely just frightened. He thought he was going for a swim in a pond but was sucked in by some invisible, inescapable current to a dark mesh cesspool filled with rotting leaves and decaying beetles. I would find it difficult to move as well after such an experience. I was relieved to see that the woman in the portrait hadn't shifted. I considered closing the bedroom door, but I decided against it. In my mind's eye, I could see her moving around in the frame when my back was turned, and I reasoned that the effect would only worsen if the door was closed, and I couldn't view her at all. I wished that someone could be there with me. But I had no friends, and my family had always been dismissive of my fears. I knew that they were tired of me, and I didn't want to inconvenience them further by unburdening my unfounding dread upon them. They never called me when they went away. I returned upstairs to check on the rat. She hadn't touched her food, but she had drunk about half of her water. The bathroom sink spurted when I refilled the bottle. Silverfish scuttled on the wall, swarming around some dark spot on the corner of the ceiling. I remembered that they were attracted to mold. The rat hadn't come from a pet store. She was food for the ball python, whose cage sat on the opposite side of the room, but the daughter had decided to keep her instead. I wondered why she had taken pity on this rat out of all the others that had been and will be fed to the snake. I wondered how the rat would feel if she knew the creature that would have been her doom lived a few feet away, separated by only a thin sheet of glass. Once again, I passed the time on my laptop until evening fell, casting strange shadows over the house. I gathered my things to head upstairs, but first I peeked into the parents' bedroom, seeking reassurance that the woman was still within the bounds of the picture frame. It was difficult to see, the blackness of night reflecting off the glass, making it look like it was empty. It couldn't be empty. That was impossible. I took a single step forward, my feet brushing the slightly sticky carpet of the bedroom. I ran my hand along the wall, searching for a light switch, but I couldn't find one. I turned on my phone's flashlight and pointed it at the portrait. I could see nothing but the void. A forceful primal fear hit me, the terror of a mouse trapped in a cat's paws. My heart grew heavy, pounding against my chest, and my entire body trembled. My phone nearly slipped out of my shaking hands. I knew with a surety that I had to get out, right now. I stumbled over to the front door and tugged on the lock. It wouldn't budge. I yanked at the handle, shoved my shoulder against the door, slammed my fist against the window pane, but it was useless. I couldn't escape. The woman didn't want me to leave. My breaths came fast and heavy, so loud that I nearly missed the soft rustling of a dress behind me. I turned. There was the woman, walking the hallway by the living room. She walked like a shoulder, swinging her arms and legs wide and stiff, her dead gray eyes staring blankly forward. If she turned to the right, her hateful gaze would fall upon me. The only clear path, the only way I could avoid being spotted, was up the stairs. I didn't want to go upstairs, up into that dark, gaping maw, but what choice did I have? I couldn't leave. All I could do was pray that she wouldn't find me. I moved to turn the flashlight off my phone, not wanting it to draw her gaze, but it had already died, the battery spent after a day of use. I crept as silently as I could to the base of the stairs. The woman didn't turn. I placed one foot, then another upon the stairs, waiting for one to creak, but none did. This brought me no relief. As I padded to the guest room, the rat began to squeak, furiously frenzied, shaking the cage as she ran back and forth among it. I stopped in place, my mouth growing dry and peeking down to the bottom floor. I could see the woman. She too had stopped. Her head twisted upon its long neck, her filmy eyes darting about, searching. I pressed myself against the wall, but it was too late. They fixed upon me, and they were full of malice. Her slow soldier's gait did not change. She had no need to move any faster, not when I was already trapped. Futile though I knew it was, I still rushed to the guest bedroom, slamming the door behind me. With shaking arms, I pulled the bed in front of the door, then the nightstand upon which the flickering lamp sat. The light switch still didn't work. I concealed myself within the dusty closet, the one with the door that wouldn't latch. My laptop still had some life, so I began to type, wishing for my family, for anyone to know of the events surrounding my demise, even knowing they wouldn't care. Outside, I could hear the steady thump of the woman's footsteps growing even closer, and the terrified squeaking of the rat. I can't say what the woman will do to me. I think she'll just put me in the void, in the space where her lonesome eyes are fixed. I think that when I'm gone, I will be neither missed nor mourned, merely hated by the woman for the rest of eternity. I can hear her hitting the door. The bed screeches as it slides across the wooden floor. The rat has gone silent. What happens next? How exactly my time will end? I don't know. I never do. Alright everyone, that's it for this week's story. I would like to give a giant thank you to this week's author, BitterRub9701, for letting me read their story on the show. If you have any stories you would like me to read on the show, you can send them on over to storieswithatwang@gmail.com. The show is on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Stories with a Twang Podcast. It would mean an awful lot if you could rate and review the show wherever you listen, and don't forget to share with your friends and family as well. It could really help the show grow. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and until next time, remember that a little twang goes a long way.